There goes my Thomas tunnel. But if I've learned one thing from this episode, then it is adapting, and do the clap thing. Welcome back to a new Hints and Theories video, this time about episode number 6. My name is Julia, and here on this channel I present you hints and theories that will hopefully help you figure out who the mole is. Yeah, I've got thrown out of my Thomas tunnel in a very brutal way, I'd like to say. The only comfort I have is that I wasn't the only person who suspected him. And there are a lot of people now who are actually, well, searching for a new mole. I try to see the positive in things in life, and this is that I have a very neutral point of view right now, and this is probably not the worst thing to have when presenting his theories, I guess. So let's start with task number 1, the special, well, college lesson we had there. I have to say I really liked that task, and I think Lancelot did a really good job, and there are a lot of people now thinking about and asking him where did he get that clap thing from. I would really like to know that. Maybe he's going to tell us that in the future. Maybe he kind of had a, well, teacher who did that. That would be quite interesting. But it was really helpful. But before we talk about Lancelot and what he did in the task, let's have a look at the fun fact group first. Ruben and Toes, who were actually doing kind of a good job. They figured out 2 out of the 3 fun facts. But of course, Ruben's behavior when it came to the first fun fact is suspicious. He, well, shot the wrong person, which then led to the problem that they could not get the first fun fact. And of course the fun facts would have been very easy well, answers for the students to pass the exam, or let's say to at least gain 1 more right answer in the exam. Let's jump to the group with the microphone in that other classroom who were giving the information to Lancelot. Of course, that were Comfort and Thomas. Thomas is out of the game now, so let's focus on Comfort. She was in a good modeling position actually, because she was responsible of giving Lancelot the information. But I have to say that while having a look into the community and reading what other people thought, there are some discussions about whether or not it was more Comfort's or more Lancelot's fault that so many answers were wrong. And I really do think it is a bit of an opinion problem here. So you can interpret some of the wrong answers in a way that it is Comfort's fault, or you can also interpret them in the way that it is Lancelot's fault. There's definitely one wrong answer Comfort did say, and that is the wrong name of that painting. And then there's the huge questions why all those sports team were messed up. Some people say it's more Comfort's fault, some people say it's more Lancelot's fault. There are also some Belgians, at least I think those people are Belgians, who say that they do not believe Lancelot, that he did not know the sports team's names. Yeah, I can't really judge that, to be honest. My initial thought would have been that he would know at least some of the names correctly, but still it's hard to say who really is responsible of messing all the names up. So you can definitely interpret it in both ways. There's one more possible mole action Comfort could have done there, and that is not pressing the microphone button. So that would have been, yeah, a very easy way to mole, just talking but not pressing the button so that Lancelot could not hear her. That's especially possible when Thomas is not sitting right next to her when he's looking for the books. That would be a very easy way to mole, and would be of course a very typical mole action to, well, let communication go wrong. We did not really see anything like that, but I just wanted to mention it since it is possible. And of course, talking about Lancelot a bit more, not only the sports teams were messed up, but also several other facts about his home country. And last but not least, he messed up that last fun fact. He did not tell them that, although Comfort told him twice what the fun fact was, so that's definitely his fault. And let's just assume that he is the mole, then he would of course know all the right and the wrong answers he gave the students, and he would know how many right answers he had already given them. And by either telling or not telling them the last fun fact, he could have a huge influence on the students passing the exam or not. I have to say, in general, I think that the production team could have told us a bit more clearly how many right questions the students needed to pass the exam. So there are 9 questions, and it seems logical that they needed 5 right answers, but they didn't really explain that very clearly in the show, so that's all just guessing and assuming that they needed 5. Yeah, I just wish they would be a bit more transparent in that case. Task number 2 was all fun, but I don't think that we can actually get a lot of information out of that task. It was interesting, it was a cool idea with that mole puppet, that living mole puppet, but, well, how should you figure out what the right gesture was also? Because there were so many moves, so many gestures, so many facial expressions, and of course all of them did something like that. To be honest, if I were a candidate, I would do something like that as well, just to make myself suspicious. So I think it's hard to really get any information out of that, though I think we did get to see the, well, more action, the right more move, the right more gesture, simply because I do think they want to show us that in the last episode, like, you've seen it already, it was there. So we probably got to see that. Just some of those moves for you to, well, keep in mind. Lancelot tapped his glasses several times with the right or the left hand. Comfort did some moves with her hands, and Tos and Ruben, they ate and they drank, and they of course were saying thank you or dank u, as it was already mentioned in the show. So I do believe it's hard to get anything out of that. But there's one thing that was actually quite interesting, I think, and that is that Jill always says that the mole's time started now. So maybe the mole and his puppet are counting like the seconds in their heads, and then if the mole does or does not a certain move, a certain gesture at a certain second, then maybe that's the signal for the puppet to either stop the game or to go on. And maybe, or let's say, I hope that they will explain that in the last show, but again, I think it's hard to figure anything out of that task. And now task number 3. Before we look at the people, I have to say I really would like to know what people who are involved but not really involved think after they have taken part in that show. Like the students, what did they actually say when they went home after that lesson? Or that guy in the bus, I mean, he was driving rounds and rounds, and there were people talking about the FBI and a possible exploding bomb on his bus. Like, what does he think when he goes home? So that would be so much fun to know. What is he telling his friends and his families about his work day? So yeah, just a thought. Let's look at all the people one after another. It just makes more sense like that, I think. And we start with those who was the driver of the day. And I've seen that some people say that he's doing brilliant candidate behavior in the task, but I think he actually was in a good position. So yes, he was not involved in all that riddle, figuring out how to solve that problem there and the color and what photo and all of that, but he was actually in a position where he could have stopped the game at any second. So just assume he's the mole and he's sitting there in that driving seat and he's doing a perfect driving all the time, and in the end the candidates come up with the right color. Then he just needs to go a little bit slowlier for some seconds, and then the bomb will explode there will be no money added to the pot, although they had the right color. And if he does that in the right moment, then they would have even probably thought it was the wrong color, although it was the right one. Of course, Jill could tell him that green was the right one then, but still, I think he is actually in a very responsible position. Not only that, but he's also driving over that little car with the GoPro on. Yeah, you can discuss about it. It's either his fault or Ruben's fault. Maybe it's both of them who are responsible for that. So that's definitely up for discussion. But there's one more thing, and that is that Toes in the end decides which color they are going for. So they give the most important question of that whole task to Toes. And if he's the mole, then of course that is like, this is like a present, this is like a dream, yeah? He can just say the wrong color. Of course, there's also the option that Toes is a candidate, and then you still have two options why he chooses yellow. Either he's trusting Ruben and wants to earn the money, which is why he decides to go for yellow, or he suspects Ruben and wants to test his answer and wants to test if he's the mole and says, let's take yellow. Then of course it would probably make him more sure about Ruben as the mole. What I want to say is in the end that we shouldn't say that Toes is not responsible for anything in the task. I think he did quite a lot without actually doing anything than driving. Let's stay on the bus for a few more seconds and have a look at Lancelot. Of course, he was working together with Thomas all the time, but in the end their decision to pick the wrong photo and with that the wrong name led to a huge problem, because then Comfort and Ruben would have the wrong tool, and then they would have traveled all the way for nothing, had to go back to their office, change their tool, come back. That wastes a lot of time, and by wasting time you also are wasting gas, and we know that if the bus runs out of gas then the task would be over anyway, so it's a possible mole action as well. And now let's have a look at our FBI group there, and to be honest I'm not sure if Ruben did anything helpful in the task. He really acted like a cliche policeman from The Simpsons, for example, eating donuts and doing nothing. So I really can't remember that he did anything too helpful while being in the office. And then being on, well, that field, he of course is probably responsible for getting that little car with the GoPro on crashed, and who also said the wrong color. So yeah, not a very helpful Ruben this time. And last but not least, Comfort. I actually think she did a really good job in the task. There are some people out there discussing whether or not her way of saying green was the color was a bit wrong. I have to say I have some problems with that, because if I imagine she's the mole and Ruben next to her is saying the wrong color, then I imagine as a mole it would be, well, the best way to just go along with him and say, yeah, it's yellow, you have seen it, I didn't really catch it, or anything like that. It would be so easy. Why would you as mole tell them the right color? Does not really make that much sense to me, but definitely let me know if you think she did anything suspicious in that task. That were all hints and theories to episode number 6. I think it were quite a lot this time, so I'm really curious to hear what you think about them and if you've spotted more, because I always assume there are more anyway. Definitely tell me that in the comments below. If you do not want to miss any further hints and theories videos, then please subscribe to this channel here and check out my Instagram. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you back next time. We are slowly heading to the end of that season, so it gets more and more exciting with each week. Until next week, bye!